Hello everyone, Mike with Spray Jones, and we're going to go over a buyer's guide to spray foam. So everybody wants the answer, what is your square foot price? And I'm going to try to guide you in how to understand what to look for in pricing. Because the square foot price can't be answered based on what state you're in, what county, and what you have to achieve for regulations. So you need to first be looking at this as you need an installation goal. And you're going to say, well, what is that? Well, I've got a bunch of points that will answer that for you. Point number one, what do you want sprayed? Do you want a basement wall, crawl space, walls of your new house, walls of a retrofit, attic, vaulted ceiling, whole house done, new commercial building that you're putting up, shop, under slab, you name it. So all of these pieces of the puzzle have different pricing associated to them. So square foot number is irrelevant because we can't give you a square foot number for under slab like we'd give you for wall. We can't give you wall pricing for crawl space pricing. We can't give you crawl space pricing for a vaulted ceiling. You understand? So the first thing is to identify what specifically you want. Now, if you've got a lot of different areas, understand that whoever you're talking to, you need to coach them on saying, all right, I've got a number of different areas. I've got a basement I want done. I've got a crawl space attached to it. I want the walls of my house done. I want the walls of my garage done. And these are all going to be different specs. So you need to break it up on your sheet and in your mind that you should be expecting a different number in different areas, that the price for a wall area is not going to be the same as the price for a floor area. All right? Number two is going to be how much foam and of what kind. So if you are going to be getting a closed cell foam, which is what the majority of foam that we spray, that's in a totally different pricing range than open cell. And then how much of any one product are you getting, obviously, right? A 2x6, a 2x4, a 2x8. You want the whole thing filled up. You've got a floor assembly and you want 8, 9, 10, 12 inches put into it, which is actually kind of ridiculous. Under slab, maybe you're only going to be putting an inch of closed cell. External foundation, maybe you're going to be putting an inch, maybe you're going to be putting 2. So cost per square foot does not matter when you're going to be using different products and then different thicknesses of product, and the type of substrates that you're spraying to are going to be important as well. Concrete, wood, rock, in-ground situations, irregular, corrugated metal versus flat versus plywood. These all matter, so you cannot come at it from what is the square foot number for a given thickness on a given substrate. It's going to vary, and if you're just spraying concrete basement walls, okay, fine. But if you're going to change that up to spraying wood, it's going to change a bit. Thirdly, how much area do you have? And then what is the size of it and access to it? So, for instance, if you've got 4,000 square feet of wall area, maybe 1,000 square feet of that is up at a 20-foot height or a 30-foot height. Maybe the roof, half of the roof is out over top of something that's difficult and needs extra scaffolding, needs extra access, temporary work platforms built. So area is important. It's going to determine how long and how much product is there. Obviously, the very first thing is the square footage or the square meters of what we've got to deal with. Then we need to know the thickness of the various products that we're going to be installing, and then we need to take a look at what are going to be design limitations or access or things that are going to cause us delay. And that's very, very important, because this is where extra money needs to be spent in setting up of scaffolding, in setting up of masking. So if you had a 20 or 22 foot rake wall, 30 foot rake wall with glass and windows, and there was a net, maybe there's only 300 square feet of wall area when you took the windows out, but it's going to take the installer all day to spray that, well then his labor rate and material, the material is going to be very little, but the labor rate is going to be high, and the square foot price is going to be fairly irrelevant compared to areas where it's different. So these are things you need to consider. Number 4 is right on the heels of number 3. What prep needs to be done? So if you're spraying to rock for an underslab situation, or you're spraying in a crawl space, maybe there's little to no prep. But if you're spraying 2x6, 2x8 walls on some grand mansion, there could be days worth of prep. And the way that we work is, if you're tying up the rig and our guys are there doing the prep, and that's always a policy now with us, is that we will do the preparation. We don't want somebody doing the prep for us and then it's wrong, and then who's at fault if something isn't right or something gets oversprayed, or worse yet, people have just come in and done stuff wrong and it's created actually extra work for us, extra time. So we do all of the prep, and the prep is included in our price along with our cleanup. So if you've got areas that are straightforward, minimal prep, no big deal. But if you're asking me to come into a retrofit situation and say how much to spray 200 square feet of bedroom wall, and you got hardwood down, and there's carpet we have to drag the hose in, and there's drywall still set up, and there's a dresser in the room, well, obviously that room is going to need to be prepped out ahead of time and somewhat by us, and that's going to cost entirely different than 200 square feet where we can just come in and spray and be gone very, very quickly. Number 5 is how far away are you and your project from help? If you are having to have contractors come out to the lake, to the cabin, to a rural site, an agricultural site, maybe you've got a cabin up in the boonies, maybe the road is not very good to get in and get out. I had one situation where the road was very, very poor. We almost couldn't get the equipment in and out. These are all going to factor into the price, because when risk goes up and timing goes up, it's going to take longer to get somewhere, get in, get out. There's going to be more risk of damaging equipment. Prices go up. They should. You have to offset risk in life. Otherwise, if you get stuck, if you wreck something, you wreck a wheel, you wreck a U-joint or something, and you need to get a tow out of a situation, well, you can't have the job priced for next to nothing. At least you shouldn't be. So how far away you are from getting additional help. If you're right smack dab in the middle of a rural center, no big deal. But I've even had situations where it's been downtown on a condominium complex. There's no parking, there's no alley access, we can't block things off. We had to have a special permit in order to be in that area at a certain time and take up a certain amount of space, and that all factored in to the pricing that needed to go in. Number 6, time of the year and unique design of whatever you're doing. So people that call me up and they want something done in the middle of winter, winter is the hardest time for spray foam. You've got condensation, you've got a heat, temporary, maybe you have to hoard. If it's outside, that might not even be practical. If you're being asked to do the exterior of a commercial building, the outside of a house, the outside of a foundation, under slab, there are certain situations that just don't lend themselves at all to being sprayed in the wintertime, and if they do, they're super, super expensive. A lot of times metal buildings, commercial buildings, agricultural buildings, they're just not sprayable. The metal building's not sprayable until the springtime. And if you do put heat to it, it's going to drip, it's going to form problems. So time of the year is a huge consideration. Even sometimes in the spring, getting in and out of soft sites, things are under construction, mud, rain spells, and I mean, different regions, it's no big deal. I mean, if you're in California and the weather is great all the time, it's no big deal. If you're in Texas, you might just be having to deal with heat or flash flood or rainy period or what have you. So regionally, things are going to be different. In Canada, things are very different. I mean, once we get into late November until the end of March, beginning to almost mid-April, that is our toughest 100 to 120 days of the year. It takes way more time and effort to set things up, heat, and certain jobs just can't be done, as I've said before. So this has to be factored into your pricing, and it should, because there should be cold weather costs associated with putting things on. If nothing else, it's just daylight. I mean, less daylight at the job sites means that the guys can't put in early hours or late hours or what have you, and sometimes that affects when they can be on site, not when they can block traffic, when they can't. It factors into the pricing for sure. 7th point, second last here, to get into dollars and cents, I think people need to understand that when you're talking with spray foam, you should be thinking in blocks of thousands and tens of thousands. So you can't go very far on a $300 bill, $500. There's going to be minimum charges to mobilize. Everybody's different. Some people might mobilize for $300-400. Other people it's going to be $500. People that are coming, even driving a little bit of distance, might be mobilizing only for $1,000 or $1,100. So it doesn't take very long to eat up $1,000. So if you're getting a basement done, you're definitely going to be in the thousands, maybe up to even $10,000 if the house is large enough, maybe even $12,000 if it's a mansion. So you could be as little as $1,000 for a wall or two, or maybe the whole basement if it's very, very small. And if you're going to be doing walls, roof, vaulted ceiling, these are going to be in the tens of thousands. You might be spending 10, 11, 12, 15, 18, 20, 30. So it varies based on who you're selecting, the experience that they have, how many times they need to mobilize, and they're going to give you some pricing to show you where things need to be. But if you followed points 1 to 6, you're going to start to see the justification for why prices are going to be what they're going to be. And that leads us into point number 8, which is you need to consider what kind of warranty do I want on the work that they're doing? What kind of insurance do the people have? And my insurance, because if they don't have insurance, it's on your insurance. And then finally, what kind of financing? So if you're standing there, most contractors want to be paid as soon as they're done, but that might not be practical for you. You might be doing bank draws. You might be having investors, and there's certain draw periods. Maybe they have to wait 30 days, 40 days, 45 days, 50 days, 60 days in commercial situations. So hiring a contractor that is capable of not standing on your desk and demanding payment immediately is going to be a factor in all of this. And sometimes guys can't wait, and sometimes they can. We have to wait 60 days on commercial. We've got to wait 30 days on general construction. But if we're dealing with homeowners and one-off small business people, we want to be paid within a week or so of completion and them taking a look at it. So this is all very important, and you need to follow through with points 1 through 8 when you're considering. Now, to wrap this up, I've saved the answer to last. If you've checked out, well, you're not going to get the answer. But if you've stayed this far, well on you. You're going to have to use these points and talk to the top 2 people in your area that you have done checks on their workmanship, their products, other people that have used them, and down to those 2 people with these questions being answered by you with them. You're going to see where the numbers are going to be at between those 2, and those 2 should be fairly close. Now, I've given other videos out there on hiring a good contractor. I've given videos on people to stay away from and how to spot a rogue. These are all videos that you can watch. So if you're not dealing with a rogue, if you're dealing with a good upstanding contractor, not one of the people on the list that I give on what to stay away from, the pricing should be fairly close as long as somebody's not playing games. If you can achieve the goals set out in points 1 through 7, and the person has built confidence with you, then spend the money and get it done. Because I've rarely seen people go low and be satisfied. And it's very, very rare that somebody spends the money and is totally dissatisfied. Not usually going to happen. So if you stick to these points, they will answer the question for you: what is a viable number for X amount of spray foam for X amount of area in my region, wherever I am in, any one of the provinces in Canada, any one of the states in the US. And you should be able to come up with a safe, sound number for a good company that you can rely on. Well, I hope this has been of help. Click the share, the like, the subscribe button, comment on the video, and we'll catch you on the next one.